Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're back over on our YouTube account and we're going to be doing our March tier list. Now overall, we've gotten a couple new heroes within the last month. We got the awakened version of Lucius. We also did get another new light bearer, but overall the tier lists are a very specific way to build heroes. Now you can couple that, of course, with the AFK Arena shorts that we go into kind of a more in-depth build that we want on these heroes. But let's hop over, we'll take out and break out this tier list. And here we go, guys, tier maker. So let's break through. We're going to go through the SSS tier, the SS, the S, and then we'll kind of look at a couple other heroes. Now, looking at some of the changes that we do have in here. Now, on the top tier, SSS, which is right here in the top right, we do have Liberta still holding absolutely strong. One of the most important heroes, one of the first build priority heroes when you start getting into the Stargazer, and also building him out brings him a lot more damage in a bunch of different formations. But there's no place in AFK Arena that this hero is not being used. Now, that is the exact same with Damia. Now, overall, a lot of players ask which hero they should build after they build out Liberta. Should it be Damia? Should it be Lavatoon? Either of them you will do incredibly well. Again, when it comes to AFK Arena, when it comes to all of our game modes, we are seeing them pretty much still used everywhere. When you look at the Curse Realm, the Nightmare Corridor, Treasure Scramble, they're used in different formations in their entirety. So building out either of those will do incredibly well. And then, of course, like I said, we have Damia and we have Lavatoon, two very, very strong support heroes. Then we have Ivan. Ivan is still one of the regular 4-faction heroes and the only one that we see there in the SSS tier because of how the hero works, not only the energy regeneration, but the boost, the shielding, the survivability. Ivan is broken. And of course, earlier game, you can couple Ivan with Damon, you can couple Ivan with a couple heroes, and they will do incredibly well because it's hard to kill when you start getting further in building him out. Also, when you add in the engraving for Ivan, it provides a crowd control aspect, which is kind of broken when you start getting to level deficiencies within the campaign. Now, we also do have the awakened version of Athalia in here, another hero doing incredibly well, still used in a lot of different places. Rem still holding tight to the SSS tier. When you look at some formations, they are the best in slot. They are the damage dealers. If you don't have them, you're fundamentally changing the entire formation with the ones that you're running. Then we have, of course, the awakened version of Leica and Shamira in here as well to round out the tier. Now, of course, looking at a couple different ones, the awakened version of Belinda starting to lose a little bit more of a foothold. Same with Lucilla. Ultimately, building up that plus 40 signature item for Lucilla, not as effective as players were thinking, meaning we thought it was going to be a priority just kind of based on the build. Damage still came in a little bit low, so we're really not seeing it there as a big priority. Now, also looking in this very top tier, these are most of the heroes that you're building out to that plus 40 signature item. Even looking here for my account, I have Liberta built out, I have Athalia built out, I have Leica built out, I have Shamira built out, I have Rem built out. That is right. The only ones that I did not build out at this point are the support heroes. And the reason for this is the support heroes might pick up a little bit more skill, stats, abilities, but overall, when it comes to your damage dealers, when it comes to heroes generally in AFK Arena, the ones that do damage are the ones that need high stats, because the stats translate into more damage, where support fundamentally will work without having the higher build, but overall you want to amplify the damage of the damage dealers in AFK Arena. As we start getting into this SS tier, we still do have Palmer, absolutely crazy with the crit and the crit damage amplification, and then we have Lucius. So interesting enough, when it comes to level deficiencies, Lucius gets crushed, which of course does not apply to the Cursed Realm, the Nightmare Corridor, and the Treasure Scramble, because you have a similar level, meaning he is working incredibly well. Now, one thing to note with the awakened version of Lucius is he does have to be built out, and he has to be really built out. I mean, the better you build him, the higher you build him, the better he is going to perform, which is not historically what we see with our tanks, but because of his SP effect and the conversion of the stats, makes him a really big priority to build out. Awakened version of Belinda still doing, again, incredibly well, best in slot in some formations. Lucilla, same, still best in slot in some formations, but not used as much. And here we do have the awakened version of Solus, of course, again, still being used in a lot of different combinations with Neve. Then we do have Amelia in here for the instant crowd control. We have Sophia in here for the support and the shielding aspect we see. Jerome as a very solid buffer. We have Naruko with Nadia, of course, working incredibly well for the Maulers, but also as a buffer, as a tank, as a damage dealer, has a ton of utility. Then, of course, Ulna. Ulna is still staying as staple hero, which I'm super excited about because of the ability to guard and shield the hero that is in the front line with her. With the Winter's Call, works incredibly well. Now, in here, we still have Eugene. Eugene is still showing up in a couple different formations, working incredibly well. I know at this point we haven't gotten to build him up to Ascended. We have not gotten the ability to actually put some engraving on him to see exactly the damage, but even as a Mythic or Mythic Plus, working in a lot of formations. Same with Gavis. It seems like he's not primary really in any formations, but overall utility-wise, he is coming in into a lot of formations, just not as a damage dealer, as kind of the buffer damage mitigation factor that we're seeing in there. Brutus still making an appearance. Again, some of the formations work incredibly well with him. Timorous for the buffering and the crowd control. Scarlet, of course, because of the speed runs in the Nightmare Corridor, still using her in a lot of different places. Baden, I feel like it's going to be a point where he's going to start really losing some footing to the Awakened version of Lucius. Mortis as a buffer, Vithiel as a tank damage dealer buffer. Then, of course, Orin. Orin is a good substitution, and it seems it's pretty interesting that he has stayed so high on the tier list, even when the Awakened version of Thane has slowly kind of fallen down. But again, with the instant burst damage that he's putting up in the Nightmare Corridor, really does make a difference. Rosaline can do the ults, really the transfer of the skills and abilities, but also the ultimate abilities keep her in here. Olgath as a damage dealer, Trishia as a really big damage dealer, Silas still as a buffer in some formations. We have Albedo in here, of course, running with the Dimensionals, running with Rem, running with Amelia. Not seeing it as much, but still prevalent in a couple formations. We have Halos in here. Matria still doing pretty well in PvP. Unfortunately, it seems like a majority of our Hypo team has kind of broken apart. We're not seeing them really run together. Nevi as a buffer in a bunch of different formations, and Grez is still being here. But again, a lot of these, I feel, probably give them another month or two. We get another 2 or 4 more heroes released. We're going to see this change. And then we get into the S tier. Now, these heroes, of course, are a lot of niche heroes, a lot of support heroes, kind of the backup heroes. Even with Oden, of course, doing a lot of damage in formations. We have Rain in here for the damage amplification. And interesting enough, the original version of Taylene still doing incredibly well in a couple different formations, best in slot, which is interesting to see based on the build. Kanisa and Rook, of course, the crowd control and also the energy disintegration. Rowan in there for the energy and the potions. Twins for the haste. Lady Simona still working incredibly well with Chimera, the Awakened version of Chimera, running in a couple different formations, but I think overall might be a little bit short-lived. Merlin still in here. We have Joan in here, and then Althus or Altris is in here as well. Now, overall, he has been running and keeping him higher in the tier list with that Awakened version of Lucius, really being able to amplify the damage that they're putting out. Also being run in here with the combination of Lucilla, again, just for that the normal damage amplification. Big thing with Althus is you do have to have the plus 40 signature item if you do want to really maximize the damage you're doing in there. Then we get into our next level, which is, of course, Mishka in here. We have Anasta in here, the Awakened version of Thane. Mulan still doing a ton of damage in formations. We have Lorzen for the linking in here still. Overall, Yennefer. And then we have Melkri. So overall, Melkri, seeing a rise within the Treasure Scramble, but it seems to be the only place that we're seeing this hero. When you look at Zolrath, again, still kind of the delay with Leica in there with the formation, still doing decent. The original version of Aziz. We have Hodgkin, and then we have Scrag with the Invade. We thought the Invade might come a little bit back with our new hero, but unfortunately, we haven't seen it very much with Adrian and our Lightbearers. So overall, looking at the first 3 tiers, when you start looking at the SSS, the SS, and the S, so these 3 top tiers right here, these are, and they cover almost a majority of all the formations within AFK Arena. Now, you could have 1 or 2 kind of off niche heroes, but when you start looking at, building 5 teams, 6 teams, 7 teams, majority of the heroes in here do have a lot of synergy together. They work incredibly well. Even thinking of this top tier right here, you can have Liberta in a formation, Athalia in a formation, Leica in a formation, Chimera and Rem, all in different teams within a solid formation. these are going to be a lot of the buffers, the crowd control, and the support heroes that we see for these top tier heroes. So going and looking at our A tier and our B tier, again, some of these are kind of a one-off niche. Every now and then we do see Geralt within the campaign. We do see Robin Hood utilized within some of the Treasure Scramble. Same here with Thorin, again, kind of niche within the Treasure Scramble stall team. They have very unique abilities, but overall, not seeing a ton of utility with them. Even Edwin starting to lose a lot of his spot. Kren used to be with Raku, and ton of them used to do damage. Guineas was another one, very short-lived. Stall team right here. But then when we get down here, right here, the B tier is right now where we're putting Adrian. Because hasn't found a place. We're not seeing them really in any game mode right now short of the tower, just because a lot of players are starting to get the trial version of the hero, but overall not seeing a lot of utility. And even when you look at the B tier, even looking at the utility of, let's say, a Crescio, there's one or two really niche formations that we're seeing him in. Even looking at the original version of Baden, again, one or two very niche formations that we're seeing the hero in, but overall utility-wise, they're slowly falling down the tier list. Then we start getting into the C and the D tier. These are heroes short of the tower if you have them built. Most players are not building them, and we're not seeing them really outside of the tower at all. And again, even a lot of these heroes, like when you look at Gwen and a couple other ones, we're not even seeing their utility or them being used within the towers themselves. So essentially, this is a point where these are probably the heroes during the swap event that we have for the next 28 days that you probably want to look at possibly swapping if you have a built signature item, because again, they're not used very many places and really not used within the signature or within the towers themselves. But overall, you do want to make sure that if you are using these heroes in the tower, because even a couple of these that do well in the tower, looking at like a Namora, a Hendrik, a Nemitsu, because you don't have too many other heroes, there are a few in here that will do incredibly well, like a Titus, just because of the nature of the hero, where a lot of them, again, are not really being used in their entirety. Now, it's going to be interesting to see over the next couple weeks exactly where Adrian comes in for the hero. Right now, just put him in the bottom of the B tier because it seems like short of the tower, not really a lot of utility. But overall, guys, that is going to do it for our tier list for March. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Again, not a lot of changes going through this over the last probably couple weeks since we did our February tier list, but I definitely wanted to get this out there because there are a few adjustments, including the awakened version of Lucius and where he is falling. But again, guys, that is going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, and as always, thank you guys for watching.